Did you know that the faster you play, the less it matters what notes you actually play? That sounds like a dream sentence for somebody who's not into playing fast, because that is the surefire way of ending up in a corner where you cannot play with feeling, which is ridiculous, of course, right? It's like saying, oh, don't become too good at playing football because then you can't play football, right? You can build your skills to the highest level and don't become addicted to using any particular sub-skill to the extent to which you're not using the others, right? Like, because I can play fast, that's all I do. Well, then, if that's what makes you happy, why would I oppose that, right? Why was, oh, you should play with more feeling. Just you play with feeling. And playing fast is actually a good way to express something like intensity and aggression and a lot of emotions. Just think about flamenco. What would that style be without playing fast? So, but in this video here, we're going to investigate why it is that it matters. It really does matter less when you play faster lines what notes you actually play. The slower you play, the more it matters what you rest on. Just listen to us. I can just prove it to you right away here. Let's say we got a C minor in the background. We got the C minor scale on top of that, and I'm playing. That sounds pretty good. Oh, that sounds a bit. Oh, that doesn't sound right. But it's still the C minor scale. But let me play all the notes of the C minor scale. Right? I'm not playing the arpeggio. I'm playing the notes from the scale that are outside of the arpeggio, right? But let me just try and speed that up a little bit. Right? Speeding it up. It's the same notes as before, but there's no dissonance, is there? Let me slow that down. You hear how the slower I play, the more important is what notes I choose. And we can use that as a trick to using arpeggios, moving across the neck. And then, because arpeggios are really about what notes you hit, right? It's the quality of the notes you hit. And we know that if we're playing an arpeggio note, then we're home, right? It sounds safe. It doesn't sound dissonant or it sounds like we know what we're doing. It sounds like we're playing the same song as the music in the background, right? But how do we then do that across the neck? Because it sounds like, I have to cover the whole thing and I have to be very good at arpeggio shapes across the whole thing. You don't. And there's a reason for that, because you can pick out two different positions that you really like. And for me, that was the first position. Either if you got let's say you're in A minor, and you got the first position minor pentatonic down here. I really like to phrase in that. That was the first one I learned, and everybody, it's every guitarist's favorite pattern. And then I just fell for the fourth position as well, because it also has kind of a... So I can do almost the same things in the fourth position I can in the first, and some things are easier because it's structured a little bit differently. My favorite sweep picking triad pattern is up here in the fourth position, right? Right? So I really like that position. It has really cool features that this one doesn't have, and those are my two favorite positions to phrase in. And I might be in natural minor, so let's say I'm just using that minor pentatonic with my natural minor scale. Right? And I have the A minor arpeggio built into that position as well. That's the pentatonic. So I can choose the pentatonic, but I also have a shape of a minor triad arpeggio laid up on top of that in my mind. And I've been practicing going back and forth between the pentatonic and the natural minor. So I can mix the two. And I have my minor pentatonic in the same position. And also up here. Right? From one to the other by playing around with all the elements. Natural minor, minor pentatonic, arpeggio shape up here. But so, if you can just control a bit, some of the fourth position, like the 3 top strings, like we talked about in the previous video. What do you do with all the rest of the neck? Like say you got the 3 top strings of the first position as well. You've been playing around with those notes so much. You can mix the pentatonic with the minor arpeggio and the natural minor. And for me, that was basically a process of using my minor pentatonic shape, which I knew very well, and then adding 2 notes to it. So when I was playing a lick or a line like in my pentatonic, right, I would go, right, that extra note. So I was just coming up with ways of integrating that into the pentatonic. Then I came up with learning the minor arpeggio. Then I was like, right. And just put notes together, play around with it enough for it to be natural. So let's say you only got these 2 positions down on 3 strings. What do you do with all the other scale shapes, right? What do you do with your, if you practice, using the power paths of any one of my scale programs, and you kind of, then all you know is that if you play fast enough, then it doesn't matter what notes you play. It's only when you end that run, and I'm not talking about a high speed run, I'm just talking about that I can go. That sounds very A minorish because I'm focused on the notes of that A minor arpeggio. Let's say I wanted to go to this position with these 3 strings. I could go. You see what was happening here? I can have, let's say I've then covered from this position to that with the natural minor scale in between the 6 note shapes, and then I can go. As long as I keep up the tempo, I don't stop my line, because the same thing happens again here, that this is home, as we talked about in the first video in this series, right? And no matter what chords you're playing in the key, this is still home. So what we're hearing is basically just you playing the A minor arpeggio, and we got all kinds of other chords from the same key in the background, but that is heard as outside. So the chord is outside, it's from home, and you're still home. And that sounds, for some reason, like okay to the ear and good to the ear, because we expect to return to that home that you are describing or playing with your arpeggio. We expect to return to that A minor, so you are describing the tension that's already there, basically. Right? And when you are then going from the arpeggio to all the scale notes with no arpeggio, lined up, and then ending on an arpeggio note in this one, then you're basically doing the same thing, but now with your playing. You are moving from home to the scale. But when you're ending that line, you want to end it with an arpeggio note, or by crawling around the arpeggio notes again with your scale. Does that make sense? So let's just play a simple chord progression again. Just 2 chords, the A minor and the E major. All right, so I go. And then A minor arpeggio again. Doesn't sound dissonant, but if I rest on any one of these notes, it does. Alright, so. Right? A minor notes again. So basically, all you need is a couple of home zones, right? Where you know the pentatonic, the natural minor perhaps, and then your arpeggio shape. And you're playing around in these areas. You can use that for an entire life, an entire career, and then use the rest of the neck as ways of moving from one position to another, or one spot where you really feel at home when it comes to creating melodic lines, and then another, right? It's the most amazing thing. It works really so well. And then from that position, you will be known as the guy who can use arpeggios, who's so melodic, and he, it's just amazing what he does, mixing the pentatonic with the, the whatever. So you'll have that skill level and the reputation of that skill level. And then your brain is going to say, hey, let's learn a new position. Hey, let's do the third. Let's spend an entire month just noodling around with this arpeggio shape here. After 4 weeks of spending, half an hour with the jam track in the background, right? I'm going to integrate that with the other shapes, and suddenly you just notice that, hey, I started here, then I went there, then I have this spot, and then I connect the two, then I can go back and forth, and suddenly a fourth, and everything seems like luxury now, right? It doesn't seem like you're struggling to learn something. It seems like, let's add another area, right, to my freedom that is already there. So it's not scarcity suddenly. It's just practicing for fun. And that is a different state to be in, and it really makes you learn so much faster. So I hope this was valuable to you. Watch the video again and again as you practice this, right? If you're afraid to forget it, repetition will really get it in there and make you practice in this way. If you want much more on this and much more insights on how to use arpeggios, the simplest arpeggios to do the most amazing things, and know the theory behind how to do that, then I warmly recommend that you go check out our new program bundle, which is ridiculous. So the price is anyway. So go check that out and visit our little sponsor here. We have a sponsor. This guy actually went ahead and built these guitars, and and I can understand why, because you can't not just it's just it's such a great instrument. And all I know, I can't remember even what pickups I ordered for this thing, but it's just such a joy to play, and you can really feel, guitars are about details more than anything else. I didn't realize that before 10 years into playing guitar, that it's not about 2 pieces of wood and a stick here and some, copper wire, whatever. It's about the details all the time. How does the neck feel? How does the fret? It's just, tenths of millimeters or hundreds of millimeters that determines whether or not you can get the strings in towards the frets here. There are so many little things that determines your experience of the guitar. And you can add those details onto a cheap guitar if you educate yourself and, get good at the craftsmanship of filing the frets and doing all these kinds of things. Or you can leave, if your finances are to it, you can leave it to experts to do that. And I must say, this is really, even though this has been traveling across the Atlantic on boats or planes or whatever, it's just razor sharp. Everything is in place. And I'm just enjoying the handiwork every single day. So go check that out, and I'll see you in the next video on arpeggios. Don't miss it. It's tomorrow. See you there. Subscribe for more free videos. Do it. Do it now. Do it.